Well, after prolonging a love triangle for many episodes, it seems that finally we may be getting an answer. Hey guys, Cameron for Girl Meets World, Season 3, Episode 5, Girl Meets Triangle, and I was so looking forward to this episode for many reasons, not just because it had the word triangle in it. You guys don't know that I care about the love triangle, but it's not the only reason I watch the show. If you are watching the show for the love triangle, that's really stupid because it's just not going to work out in your favor. I mean, maybe it will, I don't really know. I think people are just watching it at this point for that, but people really should not be watching it for that because, in general, this was a great episode, and there were so many great things I loved about it. Finally, so many things that people have been complaining about are finally being addressed, and I really love that. And I've said it before that some of the decisions they made in the show are intentional. They've intentionally stalled this love triangle, I think, for this episode, and I think it's very well done the way they did that. Now, yes, they were originally supposed to end it during Girl Meets New Year, but they had to work around it because the actor that played Josh got very seriously hurt, and there really was nothing they could do about it. It was totally out of their control. They had to move on, and they did move on. That gave us this episode, which is without a doubt, I mean, probably right up there with Girl Meets High School, because last week's episode was great, but this was as good as Girl Meets High School. I absolutely love this episode. There were so many great things about it, and just like last week, there was no subplot, and really, I think Girl Meets World works best when there is no subplot, and this episode was probably one of their best. It was definitely one of the most psychological, one of the most emotional. I really think this episode is probably one of the best they've ever done. I really love this episode overall. There's so much to get into, because while this episode did focus on the love triangle, and that was a big part of it, it mainly was about why Maya has been so affected by this love triangle, and why she suddenly is acting the way she is, and it really was a fantastic episode for Riley and Maya's friendship, which is something that I think we have showcased very well, but lately it's been a much different sort of friendship than it was when the show began. I mean, if you guys remember when the show began, Maya was the rebellious teenager that, well, preteen at the time, rebellious preteen, that got Riley to sneak out, that got Riley to steal, that got Riley to do all these things, and she was the one that made Riley more confident. She was the one that made Riley more outspoken. I mean, that's just who Maya's been. Maya's done all this stuff for Riley. The problem is she's been so focused on Riley's happiness that she hasn't really focused on herself, and this episode really does touch upon that, and I think the best way they showed that is in the first scene. I absolutely love the way the first scene's going on, because basically, Riley and Maya are in the hole, because Riley feels that they still haven't learned something, and that they need to learn something. You know, she feels that they just haven't learned enough, and she feels that maybe going back to the hole will get them to learn something. They see that there are all these little conversations going on around them, all these breakups are happening, things like that. All these girls are, you know, freaking out because I guess their boyfriend or something is breaking up with them, and we eventually find out by this girl named Sage, who is played by Diamond White, who, yes, that is a girl from the X Factor Season 2, and that's how I remember her. I remember her from the X Factor, and it's cool to see that she is on this TV show. I did hear that she may serve as Zay's love interest, so maybe we'll see more of her, which is cool because I do like her character. Basically, she reveals to them that it is Breakup Monday, basically, and it kind of makes sense because Friday, you know, there are all those crazy parties that goes on. I think this was the best way that Girl Meets World could address sex, honestly. I think this was a very subtle way of them addressing hookups and sex and things like that, on how, you know, Fridays, you know, people get drunk and they hook up with someone, and then Mondays they want nothing to do with them. And that's how high school is most of the time. I mean, many times you'll see people hook up and then they won't even talk to each other the next day because really they were just so drunk they don't remember it, and I've heard of many instances where that happens. You know, that's very realistic the way they did. Now, is it over the top? Yes, but I thought it was well done. I thought it was really funny. I definitely really enjoyed that, and especially the scene where Riley and Maya see the two girls that look exactly like them, basically saying that, oh, our friendship is done, don't come in through my window, them realizing that this could be them, but them not wanting to face that maybe this could be them, maybe they could be in this situation, and that something bad could happen to them. You can see very slowly they are starting to worry, and they want to, you know, possibly, you know, they're starting to realize that this might really affect them, that this love triangle might really do something, and I've talked about this before. They've really just stopped focusing on it. They've kind of put it aside then. They've made it seem like it doesn't matter to them anymore, and it clearly does, and you really do see it in this episode, and that's something I thought was very well done, and something that this opening scene very well showed. So that leads us right into our next scene where we see Lucas, Zay, and Farkle. Now, yes, Smackle wasn't here, but it made sense why Smackle wasn't here because this was supposed to be more Lucas and the guys. That's what it's supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be Smackle. And Smackle, she hasn't been as involved in this. She really hasn't been. I mean, the only time Smackle's really been involved in this love triangle is the couples game, and even with that, she wasn't really involved at all. So I'm not really upset that Smackle wasn't in this episode because she really didn't have to be. I like the friendship that Farkle, Lucas, and Zay have, and this episode further shows that, and I really enjoyed that. Basically, they're tired of this. They're tired of this. They want Lucas to make an answer, and they're tired of them just stalling it out. They basically, Farkle and Zay represent the audience. They represent the audience that's sick of this and want answers, and Lucas, you can tell he wants to get answers as well. He's frustrated. He really just wants them to come to a decision, and you can tell he wants to be a group decision. Now, Riley seems like she really does want to do this, but Maya, on the other hand, doesn't really seem like she's willing to, face this or really do anything with it or really have any sort of progression. So, Lucas is basically kind of on a self-quest in this episode to get an answer because he doesn't really know what he wants to do because he really doesn't want to hurt either their feelings, as we know. And he tries to tell them, look, I know what I'm doing, things like that. I just need to decide, and I thought that was definitely very well done. But then we get to the central stuff of this episode, which is when Maya is in art class, and already this art teacher is a lot different than her art teacher in middle school. The art teacher in middle school was a lot more supportive and a lot more encouraging, and this guy is too, but he's also trying to show, the basic, the basic sense in this episode, which is basically the idea that Maya has completely lost herself, and she's not Maya Hart anymore. She's kind of trying to be like Riley, and it's made her lose her artistic vision, basically. We see that her art, she's drawing a bunch of random blots and things like that, and it's not at all what she's good at, and I think it's something that's really interesting, the way that Maya's losing her voice. That's something that does happen in high school. Things that you think you were good at, you suddenly aren't as good at anymore, and you don't really know why you're not. And I've talked about this before, like Lucas in the football situation. This is the exact same thing with Maya, but a bit different. The difference is that Maya is completely losing control of herself, and she doesn't really realize how far gone she really is, and I don't really think that's something that Riley really understands until this next scene, is when she sees that Maya is just not, she doesn't have that creative vision anymore. She doesn't really understand why she doesn't have that creative vision anymore. And basically, they have this conversation that I absolutely loved. I love the way this was done. Now, when this episode was leaked, people talked about this conversation that Maya and Riley were going to have, and how Riley was going to make her sound very defensive, and I was going to make it seem like Riley wanted Lucas all to herself. But that's not the point of this episode. The point of this episode is not to show if Riley wants Lucas or not. The point of this episode is that the defensive side of Maya, that aggressive defensive side, as Riley says, dancing on desks and getting detentions, that's gone. She hasn't been that way in months, and really, we haven't seen that since season 1. Now, some people could say that's character progression, but it's also character regression, because that's Maya losing sense of herself. That's who Maya is. Maya's a rebellious girl, and she's not that way anymore. And when Riley asked, and I love the question that Riley asked her here, because Riley asked her what they should do about this triangle, and Maya says, I think this should be a group decision. I think we should do this on her own, and she's not really willing to jump the gun. That's something that Maya always does. She's always been willing to jump the gun. She's always been willing to do things, without really thinking it through, and she's not really that way anymore, and Riley doesn't really understand it. So I love the way this scene was done, because Riley calls her out on several things that are very imperative, and Maya doesn't really see it that way, because she says to Maya, she's like, alright, you don't want to say anything? I want Lucas all to myself. We were dating, I think we should be together, and what are you gonna do about it? And Maya says nothing, and Riley says that she thinks that Maya should be with Lucas, and she wants Lucas, and what is she gonna do about it? She again says nothing. This is not, and it's not supposed to be like Riley is bullying or being aggressive towards Maya. It's more that she wants Maya to fight back, because that's who Maya is. Maya gets defensive. Maya would not allow Riley to say these to say these things and say such selfish things, because that's not Maya's nature. Maya is supposed to be the one that that gives Riley the good advice. Maya's supposed to be the one that makes Riley do things she's not comfortable with, and that's not at all who she is anymore. Pretty much, Maya is someone who will just follow through with Riley's rules, and now Riley is kind of turning into the more aggressive one. I like seeing it that way, and it's not character regression. It's more of Maya losing herself in high school, and it's not just because of the triangle. It's Maya losing herself completely. She's starting to become a lot more controlled, but she's become too controlled to the point where she's just not herself anymore, and it's something that really really is a problem. And I really love the way that scene was done because Riley's actually scared in this scene. Riley is not trying to be aggressive at all. If anything, she's scared because this is not the Maya she's known for years and years. If anything, this Maya is way different than anyone she ever knew. And this is not the Maya that, this is not the same Maya that did that whole homework rebellion in the first episode, or this is not the same Maya that did jump the gun with Lucas. This is not the same Maya at all, and Riley doesn't understand who this really is, and it's kind of scaring her, and I like the way that it actually was scaring her. I thought that was really well done. Definitely, I mean, probably for friendship from a, friendship perspective, this is one of the best episodes about Riley and Maya's friendship, because really the reason that these two are such good friends is because of how different they are. And this episode really showcased that very well. They're not just friends because they work so well together, it's because of how different they really are. Maya's rebellious and aggressive side clashes with Riley's innocent side. That's how it's always been. Riley's been the innocent, childlike one, and Maya's been the aggressive go-getter. That's how they've always been, and now it's not like that, and Riley doesn't really know what their friendship is anymore, and I think this scene really well showed that. I really enjoyed that, and that's something that really just worked perfectly in this scene and really sets up how great this episode is going to be. So some people may say we did get a subplot in this episode, but I didn't really see it as a subplot. I saw it more as this is also going on. This is just a major part of the episode. It's about Lucas and really him trying to finally put an end to this triangle because he's tired of not giving an answer. He wants to give an answer. He's really conflicted, and I really like the scenes with Farkle and Zay because they ask him things that, yeah, are very important, like who makes him laugh more, who is he enjoy spending time with, and he talks about how, Riley makes him laugh by anything she says, but Maya makes him laugh when she gives him the hers, and, Riley makes him, Riley he enjoys talking to from that library conversation, and then Maya at the campfire, they got really close. That is something that was true. Maya and Lucas were never that close till that campfire, and that's something I think that Lucas never realized, because he never really had a moment alone with Maya. Maya, for the most part, was just dissing him, and Maya never really seemed like she liked him that much, but from that campfire conversation, something just happened. There was a spark there that wasn't there before, and it really, I think, is just them growing up and realizing that they are moving past this phase and that they're more getting into a romantic phase, and he really doesn't know who to pick. He says that really he'd love to pick Riley, but also he says that Maya was the one that made Riley story. Maya was the one that told Riley to get together with Lucas. Maya was the one that approved Riley and Lucas together. So really, he doesn't know who to choose, and I totally understand. I can understand fans are very frustrated that Lucas is not giving an answer, but it really does make sense. He doesn't want to hurt the other one. He doesn't want to affect the other one. He doesn't really want this to have any impact on their friendship. And the way that Zay and Farkle say, look, man, this is actually a big deal, and it's going to have a big impact on our friendship, it really is. I mean, look at what happened to, Nikki, Francesca, and Thor. They're not really friends. They're in a situation right now, and they don't really know what to do. I really call them as, you could call them anything, but I would not call them friends. What I'd call them is three people that are in a very conflicting situation and have yet to give an answer. And I know that Riley, Maya, and Lucas don't want to end up the same way, and I think Lucas is kind of scared that they're going to end up the way, and he really wants to give an answer, but he also doesn't want to hurt the other one. He really has to look at how this is going to affect his friendship, because say he does take Maya from Riley, how is Riley going to react to this? Is Riley going to be okay about this? Or say he takes Riley from Maya, how is Maya going to react? Maya at this point doesn't have much of a reaction. I think that's a big part of this, is that Lucas knows deep down that he has affected these two friends either way, and this really has made them question themselves, because I think it's more the fact that Maya never felt an attraction towards Lucas, and now all of a sudden she does, and she doesn't really know what to do with herself. She doesn't know if she should go for it, and she doesn't know if she should really, what the impact it's going to have on her best friend, because Riley is her best friend, and she'll do anything for Riley, and she doesn't want to affect, Riley's relation with Lucas. They had such a great relationship, and she doesn't want to be the one to come between it. And I think this scene very well showed that. I love the way this scene was done with Lucas, and really it showed that Lucas is not, it's not frustrating, really. It makes sense why Lucas can't choose either of them, because he has the same type of moments with each girl. It's just one makes him feel better than the other, and he doesn't really, we don't know what he chooses, and we'll get into that at the end of the episode, but basically, Riley has this really great conversation with Maya. Now, at first, she goes to Corey and Topanga. She tells them straight out, fix her. Fix her. I can't do it. You need to fix her. And I love the way this scene was done, that basically she's given up. She thinks that Corey and Topanga, they have spent way too much time with Maya trying to get her better grades, trying to get her to be a better person, and they are the reason she's turned out this way. And in many ways, yeah. I mean, look at the whole conversation that Maya had with Corey in the fourth episode of season 1, where she talks about how, she has no one to help helps her with her homework and how her dad left and everything, and how they have tried to be those parents in her life. I mean, yes, she's had Katy and Shawn, but we get the sense that hasn't really done much for her. Either way, especially Shawn buying her those clothes has kind of turned her into an alternate Riley, and it's not at all who Maya is. And even Corey and Topanga, they don't know where Maya is either, and I like that they as well don't really know what to do. I like that the way that's going. I think it's really interesting. And I mean, Corey, yes, he'd love to see Maya less rebellious, but it's just like Shawn and Corey. The reason that those two bonded so well, and I think the parallels between those two, is that Shawn was always the destructive, rebellious one who made homework rebellions, and he got into trouble, and Corey was the one who was the normal one. He was normal, he was just a normal guy, and he was kind of turned a bit more, he went a bit more crazy because of Shawn, but that's why those two are still friends to this day, and I think Riley and Maya want that same thing. But the way this is going, Riley doesn't even know who Maya is anymore, so it's a very interesting conversation, but probably my favorite scene of this entire episode was this next scene. Now, as good as the first conversation was between them at the bay window, nothing I think compares to the second destructive conversation they have that shows that if they don't end this, this could potentially affect their relationship forever, because it's a very hard scene to watch, honestly, but I really think Roland Blanchard and Sabrina Carpenter gave it their all, because they basically state every single point that people have been wondering is, why is Maya suddenly turning into Riley? Because Riley accused her of wearing the same things as Maya, or, you know, wearing the same things as Riley, or having the same hair as Riley. Things that in retrospect don't really matter, but in many ways they do. Maya sees how people like Riley because of the way she dresses, or they like Riley because of the way her hair looks, and she wants to kind of copy that because no one likes her in that same way. And really, it's true. I mean, the only boy that's ever like Maya is Lucas, and I think that's why Maya has such an attraction, because he's the only boy that ever liked her for her, and she feels that that side of her that he likes is the innocent, sweet side, and she feels she needs to change herself because of Lucas. And I think it's really showing that, I don't think it's showing that Maya and Lucas can't be together, but it is showing she needs to get in touch with her old self and kind of find a medium, because there has to be a medium there, and there's not really a medium. And the way that Riley says she doesn't know who she is, and she doesn't know, you know, why Maya is this way. Maya even says, look, give me some evidence that proves that I'm like you. Riley doesn't want to say Lucas. Riley doesn't want to say that's what it is. But it's not just the fact that she likes Lucas. It's also the fact that they have this mutual attraction. They don't want to do anything about it. And it's really ruining their relationship. It's not just about Lucas, though. And Maya knows there's more. And Riley says it's really her art. Her art is what made her her, and she's not getting in touch with her artistic self. She's kind of drifting away from it. She doesn't seem as focused on it, and that's something that's really scaring Riley. That's something that she always was very good at, and we get this great scene between her and her art teacher where basically he says to her straight out that, you know, he says that, look, you know, this is not who you really are. You're losing who you really are, but it's kind of there, and we see the purple cow, of course, from the second episode of season 1. Such a well done scene. I love the way that was done. She decides to go to Katy, and I don't know if Katy's, like, distracted, but Katy as well hasn't really paid attention to Maya. You know, she doesn't really pay attention to how Maya is. She's kind of just seeing Maya as the way she is, and we see Katy as well is not in touch with herself, and we've always known this. Katy always pretends to be this, you know, actress to basically be better, and, you know, to act like she's better than herself and act like her life is better, and we see that here. It's a really great scene the way it was done, and yes, it was a comedic scene, but I think it's really showing that Katy as well, you know, she's not really in touch with herself. Now, have they really focused on the Shawn and Katy aspect that in the way that they should? No, but I think it's really trying to show that hasn't really done much for Katy, and I'm sure we're going to see more Shawn and Katy, but I'm really hoping we touch upon that, because I want to kind of see more of Katy's life, and that's the only thing I could really complain about with this one, is I don't think we've seen enough of Katy and Shawn. Definitely want to see more of them, and I'm hoping that we do. But then we get to the ending of this episode, which is so well done. Basically, because of the fact that Maya is being so closed off and so unlike herself, Riley decides she's going to do something that Maya would have done years ago, and that is that they're going to sneak out of the house. They're going to sneak out of the house, and they're going to go somewhere for Maya to find herself, and that's it. There's no questions about it. They're doing this, and Maya's gonna go, Maya's gonna go regardless. She doesn't care what Maya thinks. She doesn't care what Corey and Topanga think. They're doing this. She needs to get her friend back, and she's gonna make sure that Maya tries to get in touch with her old self, and that's not the way the episode ends, though. The episode ends on a cliffhanger because we see Corey, Topanga, and Katy. They're trying to figure out where they're going. Lucas comes out, says, "I've made my decision." He was about to tell them what was gonna happen, and he just missed them. They force him to tell him their decision. We do not get an answer at the end of this episode. We get it to be continued, which really pissed me off, but honestly I thought was also very well done, because it finally shows that we are going to get an answer. The to be continued shows that this is going to be the end. This is going to be the end of the love triangle. Lucas is going to give an answer, and this is something Michael Jacobs said. He would have given an answer very early. Episode 6 is quite early in the season, and it seems like we're getting an answer in the next episode, which I'm very happy about. I'm glad we're getting that answer finally. I'm glad we're going to finally see what's going on here, and it seems like we're finally going to put an end to this. Lucas finally has a decision, but that's not really what the big end of this is. The end of this is, how is that decision going to affect them? Because we know something happens in Ski Lodge, and I'm thinking what's going to happen is that one of the girls is going to be with Lucas, and then they're going to cheat on him. That's what I'm thinking, is that Lucas is going to, Maya's going to be with Lucas, and and Riley's going to, maybe flirt with Lucas or something. I don't really know. Something's going to happen like that. I definitely could see that happening. But that is the way this episode ends. I think it was a really good way to end this episode. Overall, guys, I thought this was one of the best episodes we've had, honestly. I thought this was a great episode for both Rowan Blanchard and Sabrina Carpenter. They both really got in touch with this whole Maya conflict. Why is Maya acting this way? Why is Maya no longer the way she is? And there's an episode coming up called Girl Meets True Maya, and that's going to be the episode where Maya realizes who she is. It seemed like this is going to be a Lana arc, and this is something that's finally coming to an end. And it's something that I'm glad they're finally touching upon. I really do like seeing that. I like the way that that's all going. But Riley and Maya, is there a medium for Maya? Can Maya really save herself, or is she too far gone? I don't really know at this point, honestly. This episode doesn't give me an answer whether Maya really can fix herself. I think Riley wants to think that, but can Maya really go back to the way she once was? I mean, there has to be a medium in there somewhere, and really what's going on with that? What is Luke's decision? We're not going to know till July 5th, which is not too bad. We only have to wait 2 weeks, and then we're back to, like, regular scheduling, so I'm fine with that. Next week's the 4th of July weekend, so I understand why there's no episode on next week. How is this going to affect their friendship, though? Whatever Luke's decision is, how is this going to affect their friendship? I want to touch more with Katy and Shawn. I want to find out more what's going on there, because we really haven't focusing on that nearly as much as we should, and I hope we focus on that more. But overall, guys, amazing episode. I absolutely love this episode. So many great scenes just in this episode. Such a great episode for Maya and Riley and Lucas. Just a great one overall. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. Have your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the series premiere of American Gothic, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.